More people, more devices, more AI. The way we live today takes a lot of energy. Wind and solar are powerful, but not always available. That's where natural gas comes in, with reliable energy whenever it's needed. Companies like Energy Transfer work behind the scenes, safely transporting these resources to facilities across the country through a network of underground pipelines. Learn more at ittakes.energy.com.
Everyone's talking about protein lately, but how do you actually get enough of it? Muscle Milk. Muscle Milk has a great tasting new formula with no artificial sweeteners, flavors, or added colors. It's high quality, complete protein designed to support healthy muscles with fewer ingredients than the previous formula and 26 to 42 grams of protein. For when you're stuck in meetings or need a post-workout recovery. Available in chocolate, vanilla cream, cookies and cream, and strawberries and cream. Try the new great tasting Muscle Milk today. Available in stores nationwide. Muscle Milk. Protein for all.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kilowatt, a podcast about electric vehicles, renewable energy, autonomous driving, and much, much more. My name is Bodie, and I am your host. And on today's episode, we have Sam Fiorani. Sam is the Vice President of Global Vehicle Forecasting for Auto Forecast Solutions. He is an automotive industry expert with like over 30 years of experience in this, and he's also a historian. And we have a really fun conversation that just kind of starts off a little bit about electric vehicles, and then we just kind of dive into some, different automotive history, and I think you're going to enjoy it. And that leads me to the next thing. Sam is also a board member of the Boyer, Boyer, Town Museum of Historic Vehicles, and we get into that, but this sounds like a really, really cool and fun place to go and hang out, and I believe the tickets to get in are like $10. So if you live in and around Boyertown, Pennsylvania, I would highly suggest stopping by, because apparently they have quite the electric vehicle collection. And when I say electric vehicle collection, I mean like original, like back in the early 1900s and maybe even further back. Because I'm not sure how many people know this, but the electric vehicle goes all the way back to the 1830s. So, yeah, I mean, it's seen a little bit of a renaissance, but this is not this is not new. The technology is new for sure, but yeah, craziness. EVs have been around for a while. All right, let's go ahead and jump into our interview with Sam. And I think you're all going to agree with me by the end of this. Sam is, one, a wealth of knowledge, and two, just a really nice human being. So, Sam, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
All right. Sam, you have, I would say, a unique perspective on the automotive industry. You work for an organization called Auto Forecast Solutions. What exactly does Auto Forecast Solutions do?
Auto Forecast Solutions provides production and sales forecasting by vehicle around the world. We do production forecasting in over 60 countries, and we do a new forecast every month going out to 2038. So we track every plant, every vehicle, and then we add powertrain on top of our forecast. So it's a multidimensional forecast. It covers every vehicle that any supplier, any financial house, anybody in the industry would need to know about. And we cover them in depth and regularly. We update them every month.
How do you do that? That sounds like a monumental task. I just talked about it, I think about my last episode, but there's like 260 new EV or new vehicles in China coming out in 2026. How do you keep track of all that?
We have a lot of sources on the ground around the world, and a lot of information, and we're constantly doing research. So we need to know what manufacturers are bringing out new models, what they're replacing, when they're replacing it. The crux of our forecast is knowing the next generation of every vehicle or the new models that are coming out. Our product itself focuses on suppliers, financial houses, vehicle manufacturers, any company that needs to know what's coming, how is the competitive marketplace changing, and in cases of the suppliers, they need to know what to get on next. So we need to be up on whatever the next product is. So we're there to tell them that General Motors is coming out with a new vehicle in 2029. You need to be ready for whatever part you make to go onto that vehicle, and so you can pitch it to them and get that business.
Are you are you finding that you're reporting more on or uncovering more of the let's get back to buttons in the car versus buttons being taken away? Are you telling suppliers get your buttons ready?
We have a monthly newsletter that we put out that explains the depth of our forecast, why we made the changes we do. And every month, somebody puts out a special report in there, and it's on whatever topic is at the top of our head or our clients' heads, and we cover that. A few months ago, I covered infotainment systems and how bad all of them are and why nobody can get this right. There's got to be a good balance between buttons and virtual buttons. If it takes too long for me, we get test cars all the time, and if it takes too long for me to learn how to change the HVAC system, find a radio station, adjust the seats, if it takes too long to do that, it's going to frustrate the customer. And I need to let them know this is not how it should work. We need to find a good balance between all the stuff that you can put onto the virtual system that won't necessarily take the driver's attention away from driving, and then put redundant buttons so that I can change the temperature without having to go find out where the temperature adjustment is. It's a big problem within the industry, and nobody has really solved it very well.
No, no. So I have a Model Y, and my wife has a Kia Carnival, and she has a newer last year's model Kia Carnival. And when I get in my car, she doesn't know how to use the infotainment system. When I get in her car, especially when I'm driving, because one of the buttons will be either volume or you can turn the heat higher. I think you can turn the heat up or down, depending on what you're looking to do. But you have to know how to switch it. So you might get volume, you might change the temperature in the car.
It's a great idea that Kia has for that. And I recently had a Kia that had that and accidentally ran my finger across whatever it was to adjust between the two settings. Like, oh, that's really neat. Now I need to know what I did to do that to get
Yeah.
it back and forth.
Yeah. I think it's a global conspiracy to cause divorces is what I think that is.
Well, imagine those of us who change a car every week.
Oh,
I got to
yeah.
relearn a car in 7 days, and then somebody else brings another car in. I got to relearn another car in 7 days. I'm currently driving a BMW i5, which has
nice.
a lot of those controls, a big screen, and fortunately, I had an i7 recently, so it's a lot of the same stuff. So I already learned it. But finding how to change the temperature is my first thing in every vehicle. How do I adjust the temperature in here, and why is it so hot or cold, and why can't I fix that?
That brings up a good point. And this is something I've also been wondering a lot, especially from people who review cars. Like, what are your bugaboos with different vehicles?
Things should fall at hand, and everything should be intuitive. Uh, Back in the old days, when you got in a car, everything was analog. There was a lever for the temperature. There was a dial for the fan. The radio had 6 presets on it. Everything was standard. All the things we knew. Then uh, headlight controls moved to a different place, or windshield wiper controls moved to a different place. Every vehicle has it in a different spot. They should still be easy for you to come in off the street, sit in a car, and figure out how to drive the car, how to put the windshield wiper on, how to turn the headlights on. And now with digital screens, it's difficult to change the radio. Even if you have Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, it's still not normally automatic, that it just picks it up right away. And I've found too many times where I can't get a radio station to play, or my big problem right now is Android Auto has If I'm listening to Sirius XM, the scrolling feature on there does not change screens permanently. If I scroll to the next screen before I get a chance to select the station, it goes back to the first screen. So I can't get to the second set of stations until I pick up my phone. I have to do it manually on my phone. It's very annoying, and it's with millions of cars on the street. Somebody at Android should have been able to figure this out by now.
Do you find that because Android Auto should work the same on every vehicle? Do you
Yeah,
find that it's
it,
every vehicle?
it does it on every vehicle.
Oh,
It is a Android resident problem.
I mean the I have so many mixed feelings on the connected cars, and my wife's car has Apple CarPlay. I love it. My car does not. Wish it did, but also, there are just so many different ways to be tracked, and so your
Absolutely.
data's like GM got in trouble for selling data to insurance companies and that kind of thing.
Yeah, connected cars are the future, and everybody has to be aware of what is being bought and sold, your information is being offered to the manufacturer, to the suppliers, to anyone outside of those companies. It's going to happen. A lot of these companies are going to sell your data. It's going to be the new revenue stream for every manufacturer, and that's why General Motors is moving away from Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. That's why everybody is looking at how to monetize the driver, the passengers, the vehicle, and it's going to be a new business case for all these manufacturers. And we, as the drivers and passengers, are now the commodity.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know that this is going to happen, but it makes me nervous the way that John Deere looks at their products. Like you buy a, $300,000 tractor and you don't really buy it. You just buy the ability to use it.
Yeah, yeah.
And we're not necessarily heading that way with the automotive industry, but we could very well could be.
That could very well be the next step. I have farmers in my family, and they were so proud of showing their GPS aligned tractors, but then you learn that they own the tractor and nothing else. All the software cannot be touched. Nothing can really be fixed by themselves. It's not like buying a John Deere 100 years ago, where if it broke down, you went and got your tools and you fixed it. That can't happen anymore.
Yeah. No. When I was a kid, my grandpa, well, he's passed away now, but they lived on a decent sized farm. Maybe not for Texas because that's where they lived, but they lived in a decent sized farm for most normal places where I lived anyway. And he had tractors just to pull parts off of.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. You still see them parked everywhere.
Yeah.
You see a 70 or 80-year-old tractor sitting off the side of a barn because they pulled something off of it and it no longer works.
Yeah, with the big old hard metal seat that you sat on with the little spring underneath it. Yeah, I spent a lot of time on that tractor when I was a kid. Um, so yeah, I mean, we're kind of all over the place. I'm all over the place. You're fine in terms of topics, but there's just literally so many things that we could talk about. What do you? There's been a kind of a lot of quite a few articles recently that I've seen of the EV market kind of picking up here in the U.S. And then also, while it's picking up here in the US, it's still flagging behind the rest of the world. Do you have kind of thoughts on where we're going with EVs here in the US?
The EV market was juiced by the incentives that the government put in place. Uh, Everybody keeps saying that the incentives were encouraging people to buy electric vehicles, and it's not the case. They were encouraging manufacturers to build the vehicles. That way, if any EV is going to sell for the price it's going to sell for. So if that price is $40,000 and that's the price that the consumer thinks that is worth, the manufacturer is going to price it at $47,000 because there's a $7,500 federal incentive. They're definitely not going to price it at $40,000 if that's the price that the customer is going to pay in the end. So when the incentives went away, the incentive to build the electric vehicles went away. So now they have to build them at the price that the customer wants to buy them. So now a $47,000 EV is now a $40,000 EV on the manufacturer side. that takes away all the incentives to build it if that padding was planned in for the idea of the business case for the vehicle. Chevy came out with the Bolt, relaunched the Bolt. The Bolt was intended to get a $7,500 incentive. It was also intended to be built for multi-years. After the incentive went away, there's no reason to build it, which is why on their website it says for a limited time. They're only going to build them because they already had the assembly line set up. They already had the suppliers there. They're going to build so many, and then they're going to stop production. But the momentum towards electric vehicles is still building. And buyers have to realize how much they want to pay and what they can get from an electric vehicle on that. And the manufacturers have to realize what they want to build to fill that gap. So it's going to take a while to get us up to the volumes or the market share that we see around the world. Europeans and the Chinese are buying a lot more electric vehicles than we are relative to their market. And Americans are afraid of electric vehicles because they're still afraid of breaking down somewhere without a gas station nearby, without the ability to recharge. They don't understand that, in general, customers don't understand that your electric vehicle is going to work like your iPhone. You're going to plug it in at night. You're going to wake up in the morning. It's got a full charge. You can drive all day. And the pricing is still a little higher. We've seen the prices come down, and they're just slightly higher than the gas-powered equivalent. But consumers still think they're a lot more expensive. They think they're going to break down more often. They see the videos on the news of fires. All these things are scaring customers away. But little by little, they're being persuaded into the benefits of an electric vehicle, that the performance is much better than the equivalent gas-powered vehicle. They cost less to run if you charge them at home. It's a better vehicle on paper, but Americans want to be able to get up and drive 600 miles in a sitting. And that 600 miles includes stopping 300 miles down the road, pumping the gas in 5 minutes, and keeping going. That's not how it works with an electric vehicle. You're still going to be able to do 600 miles in a day, but you're going to have to stop every 300 miles for an hour. It's a life change, but it's an improved vehicle, and most people can live with an electric vehicle, and even though they don't believe they can.
What do you think of, what are your thoughts on E-REVs then?
E-REVs are a great idea, especially when it comes to trucks. When you have an electric truck and you use it as a truck, most trucks today are used as passenger cars. They drive to the office, they drive to school, they drive wherever it is, and the bed never gets dirty. If you actually use the bed or you actually tow something, then an electric pickup truck loses its benefit. If you can put a small gas engine in it and charge the batteries, now you've got the torque of a diesel, you've got the cheap gas as opposed to diesel, which costs $1 more, and it doesn't stop after 200 or 300 miles. You can refill the gas and keep going. It's got a lot of benefits. If consumers can see the benefits, then we might see these take off. But it's going to take a big learning curve for consumers to understand that you get the torque of a diesel, you get the cost of a gas vehicle, and in normal driving, it actually costs you less than a gas vehicle to drive around town. It's a good idea. I'm leery about whether or not consumers will see that benefit.
So recently, I've been doing a lot of thinking on different E-REV uses, like where is it going to fall? And I really think initially, not with Scout. Scout is an adventure-built vehicle for adventure's sake, and I don't think fleets are going to pick up Scout trucks to be fleet trucks. But when Ford gets around to creating the F-150 Lightning E-REV, when they finally get that, I think because they already have a built-in customer base for fleets, I think people who are driving those trucks around might start to see the benefit. And then that's, I think, how the word gets out about E-REVs.
Yeah, Ram will be the first. And we're going to see a Ram E-REV shortly.
Really?
And when that happens, like you said, the Ram has a lot of real truck buyers, and they're going to be the first measure on whether or not this is a good idea. If we can get consumers to understand the benefits of it, and we're going to see a Ram, and we're going to see a full size Jeep Grand Wagoneer, both with the E-REV powertrains. So it'll be a nice test to see if that works.
Is that soon? I thought that Dodge kind of put everything on that kind of thing, or Ram, excuse me, because I'm old guy. I still compare, or I'm still thinking Dodge and Ram are the same company. But I thought that they thought they delayed that. Did they not delay it?
They delayed the electric vehicle, and they have delayed they've taken the electric vehicle off the table at the moment. They have delayed the E-REV, but it is still coming. They have a platform, they have a vehicle, they have an engine, and it's all ready to go. So Stellantis was oddly ahead of the curve when they announced all their electric vehicle platforms, and then shifted those platforms to accept gas engines. And in the case of the frame-based the truck EVs, it's an E-REV, so it works out very well.
Do you know when the E-REV Ram is coming out?
They're already building pre-production models.
No kidding.
So we expect them sometime next year.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I have. I don't know what it is about Ram, but if you drive into the parking lot of my station anyway, my fire station, it is Ram, 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 and then maybe a Silverado or maybe an F-150. But most of the guys I work with are driving Rams.
It seems that Ford and Chevy buyers and GMC buyers buy them for towing, for hauling, for traditional truck uses, whereas Ram buyers tend to be a little more showy. They want other people to know that they've got a Ram truck. When they redesigned the Ram truck before COVID, they came out the same year that Chevy and GMC came out with a brand new truck, and the Ram truck was so much nicer inside than the Chevy and GMC trucks that I was embarrassed for General Motors. And they did such a good job of making it a luxury vehicle in a truck body. And buyers liked that coddling from the inside. They were spectacular inside, but they also liked this noise that V8 engine made. And when they took the V8 engine away, sales plummeted. And so that's why their sales are starting to come back now, because you can get a V8 engine back in them. That was the reason why a lot of those buyers wanted that truck.
Oh, interesting. First, every single guy that makes fun of me for driving a Tesla that owns a Ram, I'm going to mention that you're not a serious truck owner.
They're serious truck owners. They want big, they want loud, they want powerful, and that's what they want. And that V8 engine is the noise that lets everybody else know that's what you're driving. And I've had test Ram trucks, and honestly, starting it up will wake the neighbors.
Yeah, my father-in-law has a Ram. Yeah. What do you think of Dodge, and I would assume Ram would do it as well, but Dodge on the Charger, putting the fake motor sound in there? Jill Simonello told me she liked it.
I was ready to hate it, because I've been a motorhead all my life, and when you hear the sound of a particular part of a vehicle, even whether it's the engine. I was just talking to somebody the other day about I grew up with Chrysler sitting in my driveway, and the starter on an old school Chrysler was unique, and you could tell it a mile away. So the sounds of a car are very important to me. Making a fake noise on an electric vehicle on the surface sounds like a dumb idea. And then you get in the electric Charger, and there's something about it that is not as bad as you think it's going to be. It's not only I can't say the right noise, but it's a better noise than you anticipate, but you feel it. It's not just the stereo making a noise to you. There's a rumble to the vehicle, and it feels right. It doesn't feel out of place. And I've been in enough electric vehicles where they've tried to bridge the gap between the sense you get from a gas vehicle to the lack of sense you get from an electric vehicle. The one I'm thinking of in particular is the Hyundai Ioniq 5N, which not only pumps in noise to the passenger, but has shift points. It actually interrupts the power a couple times, and it has a fake tachometer. I thought I would hate that, but it was actually really nice. I really enjoyed it.
When all the way up until recently, I thought putting noises in the car-like noises was a silly idea, and I've not heard it. I have seen when I was at CES in 2025, I think, I saw the charger there, but nobody was starting it up. It was just like you could just walk around it or whatever. But I just thought it was silly because it felt like the CEO was just making an apology. It was just like, this is a really cool electric car. I'm so sorry it's an electric car. That's kind of how it felt to me. But I recently read that Rolls-Royce is putting together an orchestra to make its car sounds when it drives down the street. And I was like, okay. I mean, now we're getting really creative and we're employing musicians, and I don't know. I kind of want to hear what this thing's going to sound like.
There are a lot of different levels to that. The driver of a charger wants the sensation of an engine, of the power of traditional muscle cars, and that's fully acceptable. And this vehicle kind of bridges that gap. It's not exactly a Hemi engine, but it does feel good. And muscle car buyers are going to hate it. That's just the way it is. The Hyundai version is more old school, hot hatch type feeling to it. It was fun to drive. It was a nice fake noise for me, and the shift points were really cool. But when you get to luxury cars, electric vehicles are naturally perfect for that buyer. The first time I drove a Genesis G90 electrified. Before that, I had a bad taste in my mouth on electric vehicles because they lacked character. They were all fast, they were all smooth, they were all quiet. And for me personally, I didn't understand it. But I got in this Genesis and I'm like, I understand the buyer of this car. This is a luxury car buyer who wants to be coddled, who wants to drive in silence. They don't want to hear the engine rev. They want to find every way to block out the outside world. So, making the car a cocoon is enhanced by not having an engine noise to muffle. That made perfect sense. And the Rolls-Royce, that making its own sound, is kind of like every appliance that you get. Every manufacturer has their trademark sound. If you buy a washer or dryer, they have a particular noise that they have paid somebody to make for that brand of appliance. The same thing with your car. If it doesn't make any natural noise, give it a noise. Let people know that the Rolls-Royce showed up because Beethoven's Fifth Symphony played, or what have you, as you roll in. It makes sense at low speeds, but at high speeds, I want that car to be silent. If I'm driving a Rolls-Royce, I want to hear nothing.
If you're driving a Rolls-Royce, you don't own the Rolls-Royce.
If you're driving the Rolls-Royce, you're not rich enough. You need somebody to drive it for you.
I mean, you might own it, but it's not your everyday driver. It's somebody else's.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And you're just driving them around. Well, that's cool. Do you see any trends when it comes to EVs kind of in the future that not enough people are talking about?
I've been following electric vehicles a lot longer than I have professionally. And in addition to my professional job, I sit on the board of a museum that specializes in among other things, electric vehicles. So we have over 100 years of electric vehicles on display at the museum. And when you look at the history and the development, we are currently at the we're just coming up past the infant stage of the modern electric vehicle. There is so much more that's going to be done. And I can't point you down a direction because there are so many directions we could potentially go down. Gas engines have been in vehicles they've been the mainstay of vehicles for over a century. While we've had electric vehicles for actually longer than we've had gas-powered vehicles, we haven't had modern ones since the 90s. When they decided to shift from DC to AC motors, the world opened up. The cars were faster. They were much more efficient. And now we're only 30 years in since the GM EV1. This is the beginning of the curve. We have so much more to go. And we're going to see wild steps forward in battery technology, in motor technology, in everything, removing rare earths, finding ways to get away from dangerous chemicals in the batteries, getting to solid state batteries. All these things are coming in the next 10, 15 years. And it's going to be a great step forward for EVs. And it's going to make it much more appealing to people who said, you're not going to get me into an EV before you pry them out of my cold dead hands. That kind of thing. It's
Do you have well, first we should probably promote the museum, because if anybody's in that area and they want to go see it, for sure anybody listening to this show would be interested in that kind of thing.
absolutely.
Which museum is that?
It's the Boyertown Museum of Historic Vehicles. It's in Boyertown, Pennsylvania. It's about an hour outside of Philadelphia, and it specializes in Pennsylvania built vehicles, but we have a second specialty of alternative fueled vehicles. So we have a hydrogen vehicle, we have a number of electric vehicles, we have an electric truck that was delivering rolls of paper from the train station to the printing press in Philadelphia from 1912, when this truck was built, till 1962.
Wow.
Granted, the truck did 10 miles an hour, but it still was serving paper deliveries for half a century. And we have that on display, and it's a beautiful big truck. But the museum itself was a truck factory. They built truck bodies, and before that, they built carriages. The museum itself, the building, started as a carriage factory in the 1870s and has been building truck bodies since from the 1920s into the 1990s. The museum opened 60 years ago, and it's been on display to show Pennsylvania-built vehicles and alternative fueled vehicles, because in the 60s, the factory built electric vans from the late 60s to the early 80s. And we have a couple of those on display where they were engineered in-house and built for government use, for utilities. The company even built electric Volkswagen Rabbits. There were a line of 300 Volkswagen Rabbits they built. They shipped bodies from Western Pennsylvania to Boyertown, took out all the drivetrain and put in this electrical drivetrain in them, and sold those to utilities for a couple of years. So it's got a lot of history. The museum has a lot of history. And then inside the museum, we display a lot of history. We're about to open our second gallery, which will double our space. So before the end of the year, we'll have twice as much display space. And it's just a spectacular museum to see. And the people that I have brought in to see it, their jaws hit the ground. Like, this has been here the whole time. Like, yeah, come in and see it. It's fantastic.
There are so many cool different museum. My daughter does work with museums and social media and stuff like that through her business. And she's there's a tank museum in, I think, Tucson that is just amazing. And she's always telling me about, when she goes to these whatever conferences museum folks go to, all these cool things. And it's just like stuff that you never even would have thought of could be a museum. And they end up having all of this cool old stuff or cool futuristic stuff that we're just not seeing. We need to get more word out, I guess.
Absolutely. I've been an automotive historian for decades. And through that, I have been privy to a lot of collections and a lot of museums. And you see some of these museums, from the Peterson Museum to the Henry Ford Museum to the Boyertown Museum, which is a fantastic collection on its own. They these people have put them together with such love for the automobile, for the history of, in cases of Boyertown and Henry Ford, the history of the United States, placing them in historical perspective, so you can see what this is. Like the Henry Ford Museum, Boyertown has parts of the displays that are outside of direct vehicles, so they're vehicle related. We have a diner. We have an actual dining car, fully restored inside the museum. We have a travel cabin inside the museum that we fully restored. We have a gas station out front that's an actual gas station that we use to restore cars right now. So there's a lot more than just the vehicles themselves. It's the life around the car that we have. Because we're in Pennsylvania and we do Pennsylvania history, we have a Pennsylvania Turnpike display. And in the coming months, as soon as we get the time and the money together, we're going to assemble toll booths. We actually have Pennsylvania toll booths that we're going to assemble. One of them was one of the last ones we just got from them dismantling it on the Turnpike, to one of the early ones that we got from the Smithsonian. So we're going to have all this stuff on display. It's a spectacular place to go just to see American history.
That is nutty. And there's like of course there's tons of stuff through Route 66 and all that stuff, and especially here in Arizona, if you go up near Flag or Sedona, or you're going to hit a bunch of different little places to stop and visit. But obviously there are lots of other places. If anybody who, even if you live in the United States, if you haven't been to different parts of the United States, like Ohio, Pennsylvania, that area and Iowa and stuff like that, it is a completely different country than what's here in Arizona and California. Like, and the same thing with the East Coast. The East Coast is completely different than the West Coast. It is just such a wide variety of just different stuff. One of the things that struck me when I was in Ohio a couple of years ago was like how many cool old factories were just sitting there. And they looked amazing. Just these big old Type 4 heavy timber buildings that nobody's building anymore, just simply because it doesn't make sense financially, but they're beautiful.
Yeah. When I was active in the Society of Automotive Historians, we used to take tours of automotive things around the country. So I was given a nice tour of St. Louis or Massachusetts, because prior to World War II, the auto industry was not entirely focused in Detroit. There were car companies all over the country. There were 5,000 automotive brands in the United States alone, from 1890 to World War II. So when you go around the country, you'll find all those factories. You'll find these things still standing. We had a tour of Ohio, and we were going to see a Packard factory in Ohio.
Nice.
And the day we showed up, they were dismantling it. And our tour guide said, it was here, honest to God, it was here the other day. And we were literally watching them pulling lumber out of this building from a 100-year-old factory. It was, there's so much around the country that you just don't know until you get that local expert to tell you. They built Fords in that factory, and Ford plants are everywhere. I'm in Eastern Pennsylvania, and I'm about half an hour away from a former Ford plant.
When we were in Ohio, we were staying in an Airbnb, and the people who own the Airbnb, the guy's business, his actual business, not his Airbnb stuff, but his actual business was going in to these older houses and factories and reclaiming that wood and then selling it.
Yeah.
At a tidy profit.
Yeah. The Packard factory we saw dismantling, they had the lumber, the timber that they used for supporting each floor. And they were, as I recall, being 3 foot by 3 foot pieces of wood.
Wow.
Beams of wood. And it just amazingly large pieces of wood that factories just don't use anymore. They use steel now. But when you saw this piece, it took you back to another era.
Well, Sam, I've kept you for right around 40 minutes now. So I know you probably got other things going on in your day. If you had one cool automotive history fact that you wanted to share, and it doesn't have to be about EVs, I'm very much enjoying our conversation, and I could honestly talk to you easily for another 20 or 30 minutes. but I want to be respectful of your time. But if you had one cool little automotive tidbit throughout history that you'd like to share, what would that be?
I've been doing this for a long time, and as an amateur historian, as a professional historian, all these different parts, I've heard all kinds of stories, and they're all little. There's so many that I couldn't elaborate on all of them here. I had a friend one time who wrote a book he called Car Lore. It was all stories about cars that had been passed down from generation to generation. Most of them were fictitious, but they were always the story of Rolls-Royce hoods being sealed shut because they were never to be fixed. Things like that had come along, always made a good story. But my favorite one of that was a gentleman. Granted, this is a story, so I can't validate the facts here. But the story was a Rolls-Royce owner had had his car break down, and he sent for service. And Rolls-Royce sent a guy out, flew him out, fixed the car, and sent him on his way. And the owner of the Rolls-Royce waited for the bill, and time had passed and no bill. So he called up Rolls-Royce and said, but you could fix my car. I'm waiting for the bill. He goes, sir, Rolls-Royces do not break. And they hung up on him. Apparently they just didn't charge him because Rolls-Royces just don't break. But again, I can't say that this actually happened, but it was one of the best stories I had ever heard.
That is a great story. Can I tell you a story that involves me?
Yeah.
Can I turn this back on to me? When I was a brand new firefighter, we had this helmet. It was called a Cairns helmet. It's thermal imaging helmet. And it was a regular fire helmet. And then it had this big screen that came down and it fit over your thing. I believe it cost $25,000 in like 1999. So whatever that is in today's numbers, it was a lot of money. The community actually bought it for the fire department. A women's organization got together and they fundraised and they bought it for the fire department, which is super cool. It also had this giant battery pack because you couldn't fit everything in the helmet. So it had this giant battery pack that you had to sling around. And there was two different trucks in the station I was at. And when one truck would get dispatched, whoever got dispatched to a fire would grab that or whatever called would grab that and take it with them. And it got tied up on something that was on the hook. And I yanked the cord out and it ended up being a $5,000 fix. But Cairns, the company said, we've actually never seen anybody do this before. So we're going to go ahead and fix it for free. And then they engineered some safeties in there so it couldn't happen again. But yes, as a brand new probationary firefighter, and when you're on probation, you could be fired for any reason. And breaking a $25,000 helmet that cost $5,000 to repair, I was sweating it for a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But that's good customer service right there.
Absolutely. Yeah. You hear stories about that once in a while that somebody goes out of their way. But in the automotive industry, it doesn't happen as much as you would hope it would. It's a business, and they're making hundreds of thousands of vehicles that they cannot come to every customer. Your piece of equipment was rare. There were only a handful of people who had them, so catering to that customer is easy. But when you build, 10,000, 100,000 vehicles every year, every month, it's very hard to keep track of every customer and make them all happy.
True story. Well, Sam, how would people find you if they want to catch up with everything that you're doing at Auto Forecast Solutions and just general, the museum stuff, whatever you're up to?
Auto Forecast Solutions is on all the social media, but we do most of our stuff B2B. So we're on LinkedIn a lot. Come across the LinkedIn, and we do videos. We have a YouTube channel as well. As far as the museum goes, museum has a very active YouTube channel. The website is boyertownmuseum.org. And we're always welcome to walk-ins. The museum is, relative to museums, it's $10 to come in, $9 if you have AAA. So it's a good use of your money, because $10 will take you through that museum for 2 hours at least.
Nice. Well, I'm going to make sure to put everything in the show notes as well. Sam, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Hey, anytime. This has been great.
All right. I want to thank Sam for coming on the show and being so generous with his time and being a great guest. When we kind of first started, I had some things that I kind of wanted to talk about, but I was like, really, I just kind of want to have a conversation. And he was like, good, let's go. And we did. And I thought it was fun. I really enjoyed listening back to it, and hopefully you did as well. If you want to follow more of what Sam's doing, I will make sure to put his information in the show notes, and I'll include his LinkedIn and, auto forecast solutions and things like that if you are interested in learning more. And yeah, Sam, thanks much. Really appreciate it. All right, everybody, that is it for me this week. If you want to email me, you can do so. It's Bodie, BODIE, at 918digital.com. You can find me on LinkedIn just under Bodie Grimm, BODIE, GRIMM. And I think that's it. Getting this episode out on time. Like, we got 2 episodes this week that were kind of out on time. This is the weekend edition, so don't expect anything Saturday or Sunday because I'm actually getting it out on time. All right, everybody, have a great weekend, and I will talk to you soon.